Okay. So today's presentation is going to be about database management.
Hey,
I've included my contact information on there,
hey,
so if you all
Kyle,
had any,
it's not shared. It's not on the screen. Your
all
slides.
right. Oh, sorry. There we go.
All right.
All right.
Good.
So today's presentation is going to be about database management. I've included my contact information on here, so if you guys have any specific questions about your system that you're using, feel free to reach out. My cell and email are listed there below. I wasn't planning on getting into any specific CRMs. My recommendation would be to reach out to folks within your industry and figure out, which ones are working best for them. I mean, there's a lot of systems out there now that are tailored to specific industries. So reach out to your peers, see what they like. You can probably demo those and probably even get like 30-day free trials before you actually like commit and invest in software or a contract with a web-based company. Um, you know, but whoever you decide to use, we're just going to cover some important topics that I think are critical in making sure that your system is managed appropriately and you can get the most effectiveness out of it. So 5 topics we plan on covering today is target audience, the organization of it, uh, the processes and what they should look like once implemented, um, various marketing components, and then the reporting aspect of it. So first one, let's talk a little bit about who I think you should be targeting and implementing into your database management system. First one's pretty obvious, prospects, right? So this is anybody that um, comes to you and could be a potential new client or somebody that you're planning on transacting some sort of a business with. Um, the second is your current clients. I think current clients is probably one of the most important people that you could follow up with. They're going to be your biggest cheerleader and probably one of your best referral partners. But then also, particularly in real estate, a lot of those folks are probably moving like every 5 to 7 years. So if you're maintaining good contact with those individuals, there could be repeat business opportunities. In my industry, we have the ability to remarket to past clients. So for whatever reason, they may have left our agency and went to another place, but we're always trying to win their business back. Folks have great experiences with our team, but they may move for one reason or another. So if you're in an industry where you can get repeat business and and maybe lost that client, I think remarketing to those folks and trying to bring them back is important. Another one is lost sales, right? So maybe you went into a listing or buyer's appointment and the individual chose to use somebody else. How can you maybe set yourself apart so you can win that business in the future? Is just remarketing to those folks. The realtor or lender that they may have chose may not have as good as systems in place as you do, and are probably not remarketing to their current clients or past clients. So we're just talking about people moving like every 5 to 7 years. So having a system in place to market to those folks to try to get them on the next transaction, I think would be important. And then the last one I think is probably the biggest one that's most overlooked and not implemented effectively is making sure that you are managing your referral partners and centers of influence in your database. So, these folks are the ones that are really driving revenue, and it's important to have a system in place of your contacts and how often you're touching base with your referral partners and anybody within your sphere that may be referring to you. So before we jump to the next slide, I just want, any questions or comments. I'd like to try to keep this interactive instead of me just reading off the PowerPoints, but if not, I can move on. Cool. All right, so organization. Before implementing your database management system, for me, it's important to make sure that it's well organized and can easily be managed by not only you, but your potential team members. So first topic on here is necessary data inputs. So to give you an example, if you have a plan to reach out and market to prospects or clients on their birthday, a necessary data input would be the individual's date of birth. So you can make certain fields for somebody that you're inputting into your system mandatory before they're uploaded as a new client or prospect. Um, this is important not only for yourself, but like I said, if you have a team in place, that way, certain things that you want um, are going to be in the system. So that's important not only for pulling lists to market to people for specific things, but it may be helpful when you're designing your workflows for specific trigger points. So having those fields mandatory for data input is important, and that would probably include like address, contact information. Date of birth is another example, but again, tailor that to your field and what you think is could trigger opportunities. um, Second bullet point is marketing resources. um, I think it's important to measure your ROI and making sure that as you change marketing strategies, you're updating your marketing resources in your data management system so you can track your ROI. And that should be one of the mandatory fields that's inputted when you're putting in a new client or prospect. So, how do these people find me? I want to know like what I'm spending my dollars on. Is it working effectively? So, making sure that information's updated. And then the third thing is just designing these workflows. So we talked a little bit about like the different target audiences, but your workflow of how you market to a prospect may have totally different touch points than how you're marketing to a client, right? A prospect's hot, you're probably jumping on them, every couple of days or once a week, whatever the case may be, until we kind of get to the finish line. Where a client, maybe you're touching base with them every month or every other month. It depends, because the next bullet point that I would jump to is like segmenting your audience. So me in particular, like, I have my referral partners in my system, but then I also have them segmented from like hot, medium, and low. So like my hot referral partners are the ones that probably send me a lot of business. And then I design my workflows to have more touch points with those folks because I know there's more opportunity the more I stay in touch with them. And obviously I'm trying to move the needle and move people from like a low referral partner to a medium, and then from a medium to a hot. But like the way that how often I'm touching base with them may be totally different. So again, design your workflows for how often you want to communicate with those folks, and then the communications may vary, whether it be via text message, email drips, whatever the case may be. And then segmenting that audience to like, hey, this is a hot prospect. I'm having more touch points with them than like a medium or lower prospect.
So,
And
so,
then
so Kyle, with your systems that you do you are your systems more tags driven? Do you use like tags to drive all the workflows around?
exactly. Yeah. So we design and segment them with certain tags, and then these workflows, when they hit certain trigger points, it'll automatically populate into my system of when I need to communicate with them.
Okay, thank you.
So kind of if we go back to the last slide here, I have prospects segmented, referral partners segmented, and that tells, those are the two that I have segmented, and then that would be the frequency in which I touch base with them would change based off of the segmentation on them. Clients and past clients and lost sales, probably not as much communication as there is for prospects and referral partners, at least on a weekly or monthly basis. These are maybe like once a month, every other month type of deal.
Perfect. Thank you.
Past clients, honestly, could be like every 6 months or once a year. All right. So systematic process, I think the most important thing is to keep it simple. If it gets very complex, a lot of like clicking around and having to do a lot of various things. I think once you like bring on a team and try to implement it, a lot of stuff won't get done if the way that you want it to, because it's too difficult or may seem confusing. So the simpler it is, the better, in my opinion. And I think automation is key. So to give you an example, a lot of like my touch points with people could be automated, like an automated email, or you may have like an automated like text message go out to wish them like a happy birthday. So if it may just show up in our system, but then if it's kind of hands off and it may trigger like a communication back, I think that could be useful and effective. Or sending out direct mail, whatever you think is most effective for your business, but any type of automation would certainly be helpful. And then we just were talking about trigger points. So like, um, you know, based off my last communication with this individual, I want to trigger another call within a week or a month, or I want to make sure I call them on their birthday. So when their date of birth hits, like it should, when you're designing those workflows, whatever you think triggers opportunity to reach out, ask for referrals, ask for business, whatever the case may be, having that implemented into those workflows is important. And then the training and developing of a team. So we talked a little bit about keeping it simple. What I've found to be most effective is videoing yourself and then talking through the video and steps of how to manage your database. That way it's less time consuming on your side when you're having to train and develop new people, because it's like on YouTube or a web-based platform that you subscribe to, and they can watch the videos and understand how to use the system without you having to take the time out of your day to go through it over and over again. So I found that to be important. And one other thing that's not on here, me personally, when you're looking at a CRM, I would look at like a cloud-based system, just because if you're going to change CRMs in the future, it's a lot easier to move over that data to the new CRM rather than having to download like all these Excel sheets or something like that to send over to the new company to implement. Any cloud-based systems, I think, a lot easier to transfer over data. Marketing components. So we talked a little bit about email drips. Again, that frequency of those drips may change based off the segmentation that you have for specific individuals. Pre-made like text and email templates. Again, your time is valuable. So, let's say you make a phone call to somebody and they don't answer, having like a template already built in to where you can send them a text that's pretty generic, that would maybe trigger a callback, or an email template. So if I called Chris.
Did you drop off again? All right, you can start recording again.
All right. So I think hopefully you guys caught the part about text and email templates. So if essentially, like if you're following up with somebody and they didn't answer, if I can just drop in a text template that would trigger a response, that would be an effective use of time. Click to dialing, I think, is extremely helpful too. Feature, again, it's another time saver without having to punch in a bunch of phone numbers. So I use Ring Central like we're using today. Go into a household, click on the phone number, it automatically starts dialing the individual. And the other thing I think is extremely important is the ability to pull lists. So if you want to pull people that live in specific zip codes and remarket to them, birthdays within a specific month, whatever the case may be, having the ability to pull lists, and then kind of using, again, when you're designing your system about data inputs, the type of lists that you think are most effective for you would make sense to make sure that you have those necessary fields in your data input system. And then last, probably the most important, is reporting. So, something that I look at least once a month, if not like once a week, some of these things that I'm looking at. And so, for me, these are some important things that I think should be measured within your system. So, marketing ROI. So we talked about making sure that those fields were updated and mandatory when implementing prospects and clients. So you want to know what you're spending your dollars on and how effective that is for you, and having reports to monitor that based off the revenue you're generating would be helpful. Certain systems will even track like how much revenue you generate off of certain clients, and that could be not only business that they do with you, but if they refer people to you. um, you know so that could help you segment that specific person and how often you want to stay in touch with them. I mean, for me, like your top like 50 clients, should be like have frequent touch points. um, Same thing with like referral partners and centers of influence. How much revenue am I generating off of those folks on a monthly basis? And again, that would probably help you segment how often you want to stay in touch with them. What do your close ratios look like? Every prospect you get in front of, how much business are you closing? How many new leads are you bringing in each month? And then how many calls and contacts? So, for me, these last three kind of all go hand in hand. And when you're setting goals for yourself, if you have a specific revenue goal, you can kind of look back at previous months. So like, hey, if I want to increase my business by 20%, well then, if my close ratio has been consistent over the last 6 months or whatever, then I know I need to increase my lead volume by 20%. If my close ratio is going to remain the same in order for me to get a 20% boost in revenue. And, in order for me to generate new leads, I'm probably going to have to increase my calls and contacts by like 20%. So those things kind of all correlate. So, for me, when you're tracking that and looking at your goals and working those numbers backwards to reevaluate, taking your game to the next level, I think all that would be helpful when you're in having that component to manage within your database management system. So um, that covers all the 5 topics that I had that I wanted to go over. Any questions from the group or anything that I didn't cover that you guys had questions about? Happy to give you my thoughts and feedback.
So Kyle, one of the things that, we're busy professionals and we're looking at all the ways to cut time and do all this stuff. Because, to be honest with you, we want to engage our clients. We got to do social media. We have families and all the other stuff. How do you use the CRM or your database management to optimize it even more so you can, have all these touch points? Because it takes time. I know you have a team and all that, but is there little hints that you have,
Well, yeah, like I think if I jump back to this last slide about systematic process.
So I guess we lost Kyle, but I'm guessing he was going to point into the direction that make sure we have our systems and processes in place to have automatic systems come out. So I want to thank Kyle for giving the presentation. There's a couple items that, as far as like touching clients that I want to go over as well, because he went over very well of how you want to systematically do this and how you want to move forward. But a couple of things you want to keep in mind when I look at dealing with clients is that number one thing you want to do is you want to build trust with a client. You're not going to have even if you do all this stuff systematically, keep in contact with them, if they don't trust you, they're never going to use you. The other thing is you want to build credibility with them. You want to make sure that they know you know what you're doing. You want to spend the time to do what you have to do. The other thing is you want to be the go-to person. So when they think real estate, they think about you first, whether you're a lender or realtor or whatever. When they think real estate, they think of you, and then they contact you, and then you put them in touch with the right person. One of the hardest things, especially as new realtors, is that don't be afraid to stay in contact. People think we're bothering them, but in essence, if we have something of value to call them on or to talk to them about, do that. Be in touch and constantly with your contacts, because that way they are the ones that they'll think of you as being the realtor, you being the real estate professional. Also, the other thing that you learn with experience is know what clients to stay in touch with and which ones to stay, just touch base with them every once in a while, to which one you want to touch base with. Because there's certain clients that are going to take more time and not get the production you want. You have a limited amount of time. So stay in touch with the clients that are going to give you a good return, and the ones that actually you guys gel with, because that'll make things a lot easier and a lot happier along the way. Also, don't sell them solutions. Sell them answers and results. So stuff that will help them achieve their goals. Listen, observe, pain points and challenges. That way, you can try to alleviate that and make it easier for them to move forward. And also, a couple questions for them to answer is what that they're going to probably ask you: why should you be their realtor or their lender? So you got to make sure you have that prepared ahead of time and basically be scripted. And the other kind of thing to be scripted is, how are you different from all other realtors or lenders or any other real estate professionals? So keep those in mind when you are actually talking to clients and building your database. One of the things that I've been trying to do recently is try to get more information on clients. Before I was having approximately about, I'm guessing, a 30% call to convert to contact rate. Now that I'm getting a little bit more personal about their information and all that, I'm getting actually closer to 50%. And that's a huge return on all your calls. And right now, and hopefully will lead to more success in your business in the future. So I hope all this information helps you in your going forward, to move forward with it. Kyle, now that you're
Yeah.
back, I basically let the people know that you are when you were talking about system stuff. So do you have any other thing system driven? Do you have any other insight in that?
Um, well, so I don't know where I got cut off, but
You went
as
back to the
far
slide for systems.
so, we were talking about automation and how critical that was. So hopefully you guys caught all that. But then when it kind of gets into marketing, making sure that you have text and email templates already in place to where you don't have to spend time like sending a text message every time that you're calling to set an appointment. It's just a couple of clicks of the mouse. You can drop down and it shoots out the same generic text about setting up a meeting, or wishing somebody a happy birthday, whatever the case may be. So it's not because there's time and energy that's put into typing things up.
Mhm.
So if you find yourself typing the same email 50 times a month to set a listing appointment, that should probably be automated in your CRM, or maybe you just do something as simple as create a signature in your Outlook to where you can just drop in their email address and boom, the same email goes out. Um, the other thing that I like is the click to dial feature. So, in my CRM, I can click on the phone number, it automatically dials out. That saves a lot of time searching through my cell phone for a contact or just punching in a number, right? You may miskey
Mhm.
it hang up, you got to redial it again. All that thing is time saving and adds up seconds throughout the day. And then I guess like lastly, I know you were just talking about generating responses. I'm not sure how many folks listening to this work leads like Zillow or realtor.com leads or anything like that. If you're having trouble getting a hold of somebody, for me, I think the easiest thing to do is just send them like a phishing text. So like if I call you, Chris, and you didn't answer, you were a lead that came in. I don't leave a voicemail. I'll just shoot you a text and I'll just say Chris question mark. That always like that'll improve your response rate. I guarantee it'll probably double your response rate on leads because their natural response is, "Who is this?" You know what I mean? Because people are curious by nature, and that's an easy way to kind of get the conversation flowing from there.
That's definitely a good point. I never really thought about that.
Yep. So just name question mark. I guarantee you will see an uptick in response on leads if you do it if you use that format.
Well, thank you,
Any other
Kyle.
questions?
Anybody else have any questions? All right, you can stop recording.